Broncos legend Champ Bailey on the VIP line joining Nick and Cecil. Champ, good evening. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you for joining the show tonight.
Hey, guys. How's it going out there?
It's going good out here, Champ, and I got to ask you about that play that we came back with, of course, the famous Brady play. And what do you tell Nick Ferguson after that play? What do you tell Nick? Like, hey, did you guys have a code word like Wolf or something like that? Like, hey, tell me
Wolf.
Tell me Biggity Ben Watson's coming down the line. Like, I mean, you had to tell Nick Ferguson something after that play, didn't you?
See, I told Nick I'm trying to move on.
Thank you.
I'm not really
Thank you. He's
dwell
trying
on
to
the
move.
past,
There you go. There you go.
throw him under the bus or anything like that. That's not my style. So, for Nick's sake, I'm moving on, man.
Thank you. See? And on to the next. I'll say this about that play to kind of close it out. It was one of the most exciting games I've ever played in as a professional. And when I look at Broncos country, man, and you tell me how you felt about playing here and all the love that they've showed you all over the time you were here, because for me, it was great. How was it for you playing in front of this crowd and just kind of feeling that love every Sunday?
I mean, it was amazing, and it's when I think back to my playing days, it's you kind of take it for granted, right? It's hard to appreciate it when you're in it, but I look back and those was, like you say, man, that was one of the most exciting games of your career. Mine too. I mean, I played a lot of exciting games, but that game, I mean, it changed a lot for us, and it put us on the track to get where we were trying to go. So it was a lot playing on that and playing in that stadium and in front of those fans. I mean, there's nothing like it, man. I definitely miss those moments.
Well, Broncos country certainly misses you, Champ Bailey, joining us here on Nick and Cecil. And they're also going to miss Chris Harris Jr. this year, man. It's going to be so weird without CHJ out there. And then he's playing for the Chargers.
I just forgot that he was gone. Oh,
and now it's back. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and just
okay.
What are your memories about a young CHJ? I know he always talks about you, and he always talks about that influence that you had on him as a young player. We hate to see him move on. We wish him the best, except for when the Chargers play the Broncos. What do you remember about a young CHJ?
I always go back to that first time he really stood out. I think, he obviously, stood out in training camp. To make the team as an undrafted free agent, you got to do something special. Well, what I noticed about him then, he was just a grinder. But I think it was the Green Bay game later that year. I was hurt. I just remember sitting on the sideline. I'm watching and I'm like, man, this kid's not afraid of anything. He sticks his nose in there. He's grimy. He plays hard. He's smart. I'm like, man, this kid's going to be something special. I didn't know how good he'd be, but I knew he had a high ceiling, and he definitely didn't disappoint.
Champ, the Broncos took a corner out of Iowa, Ojemudia. And he's a young guy, and he may be expected to play opposite A.J. Bouye. And since you played out there on that island, and you are the best person to kind of give our audience a peek into what he's going to go through from a trials and tribulations standpoint, how long does it take for a young corner to gain the confidence needed to be one of the top players in the NFL?
Well, being one of the top players, you got to be obviously good and experienced. So, what year is this for him now?
This is the rookie.
Yeah, the rookie, yeah.
Yeah.
So if he's gonna live up to the potential, it's almost like you got to go through something, right? I mean, everything's not gonna be peachy in your first year, and I think for him, it's really just attaching to the vets more. Say like get under AJ, learn everything you can, and that's really how you dodge all the bullets that's coming at you. It's almost like one of those things you don't want to. You're going to be a great athlete, yeah. But one thing about this game, everybody's a good athlete. So it's more of a mental separation that you got to worry about, the experience, the knowledge of the game. And he just has to stay on top of that. And that comes with a lot of tailgating on a guy like AJ and learning and just soaking it all up. You're going to take some lumps. I took him my early years. I mean, he's going to take some as well.
What can a change of scenery do for a guy? It's Hall of Famer Champ Bailey joining us here, Nick and Cecil on the Fan. Because you mentioned A.J. Bouye, and there were the reports and rumblings like him and Calais Campbell were breaking up fights because their teammates in Jacksonville were just kind of a little selfish from what people said. So now a change of scenery for Bouye. What's that like? How helpful can that be for a player, especially when you put him in a Vic Fangio defense?
Well, culture is everything in the NFL. And you realize that the older you get, I mean, he's in his later years, so I know he's looking back and this is a team that's always been first class and the organization first class. So you come in with a level of respect. Sometimes it can be undervalued, the type of culture that an organization has. And, you always see the good ones that have that kind of culture at the top. The Pittsburgh Steelers, the Baltimore Ravens, they're always right there in contention because they have built this culture, and that's what the Broncos have. And, I think he's going to know that coming in. That's how I felt coming in. Same thing, back in 2004. I mean, it was the same thing. I knew that the Broncos always had a shot because they always did everything first class. So that always helps, knowing that you're going to have a chance coming in. And I'm looking forward to a big year from him.
Well, Chan, before you joined us, Cecil and I were going back and forth on this debate about who has, I guess, more of a proven year in the Broncos organization. I said Drew Lock. Cecil said, Von Miller. You had a chance to play on the field and compete with him. How much do you think that Von has left in the tank? And do you feel, just like Cecil feels, that this is a proven year for Von Miller?
It's not necessarily a proven year. I guess you could kind of say yes and no. You can make an argument both ways. And the reason I say that is because he's older, right? He's expensive. So the business side always plays a role. Now, do I think Von can go out there and get double-digit sacks like he always does? Hell yeah. Von's still going to be one of the best pass rushers. He's one of the best to ever do it and still is in the game. So I expect that of him. It's just the financial side of things. We all know a lot of great players get let go before their prime is up. And, when you're expensive, you're always going to have to look over your shoulder that way. And, it's unfortunate, but that's the way the game goes.
Champ Bailey, Hall of Fame, Broncos legend, our guest here, Nick and Cecil. And Champ, my final question for you again. Appreciate your time as always. Was Nick always like this? Because he's trying to drive a wedge, right? We're having a great conversation, and then Nick's like, well, Cecil said Von's got to prove it. So I don't know. What do you think, Champ? What do you remember about this guy, Nick Ferguson, man? I'm learning more and more about this guy. He's driving a wedge. He's like hey, Champ, Cecil says this. I don't know, man. Guy's crazy. What do you think?
Look, man, Nick's my guy, and, one thing about him, he always shoots you straight. And I do agree. Drew Lock got something to show. I can't shy away from that. That's a good point because quarterbacks always have that pressure. And, I'm looking forward to seeing how he grows. And, I can agree with you a little bit on that. But, y'all got to take it easy on each other. It's hard times right now. It's hard times right now. We need all the unity we can get.
Well, speaking of that, when, you made a speech at the Hall of Fame, and I guess it came out of left field because no one really knew exactly what you were going to say to kind of round out your speech. But what you said at the very end, we see are still kind of coming to fruition right now. And when you look at what's going on in this country and the fact that there are other guys in the league from different backgrounds that are now speaking out and using their voice, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Nick, I got 400 years of information I could throw at you, right?
Yeah.
So it's really, it's unfortunate that we're dealing with what we're dealing with, right? And, I've listened to a lot of people. I'm always trying to get different perspectives, even though, I know deep down, I know what the hell's going on. I know how we should try to fix this. In my mind, I feel like I know. But I'm always trying to be open-minded about everybody's perspective. And what I've learned is people really won't admit that we have an issue with police brutality. The way people view black people, black men in particular. Ahmaud Arbery didn't get shot down by cops. He got shot down by two people who thought he was a crook. So it's a society issue because it's not just the police. So growing up in South Georgia, I mean, that's what we saw daily. They still have stories of that coming out of there every year. You know, when I go home and when I'm not home, I'm always hearing stories. So I know it still exists. Ahmaud Arbery, perfect example of that. You know, I grew up 45 minutes south of Brunswick, Georgia. So I know that, and I know what it's like down there. So when we know that this thing is still prevalent in our community, in our society, why aren't we doing anything about it? And it's almost got to the point where it's unacceptable. And, you know, I hate to see people rioting and this and that. Yet I'm not going to cry about material things lost. I'm talking about lives lost. So let's not lose the point we're trying to get across here and really take our mind off what's really going on and why we're in the streets. It's really about people treating us with respect and equally. And there's a lot of reasons why we're in this position, but, you know, that would take all night. I really don't want to go on and on about it. I think we know what the issues are. To refer back to my speech, I just wish people, white people in particular, and the people close to me would just listen to me and understand how I feel. I wish Nick's friends would listen to him, understand how he feels, and then it trickles down and trickles out into society. But we got to start with the people closest to us. I mean, if I can't get you to understand, it's really pointless for me to try to talk to everybody else because nobody's going to listen.
Well, man, you said a mouthful, and that's what we're trying to do on our show. Use people like yourself to come on and tell their stories and how they're trying to change society and reshape people's thinking. So once again, man, you know, appreciate you joining us. I'm sure there's a lot of listeners out there who are definitely inspired, not only by your play, but also by the words that you shared. So, man, appreciate it. Thank you very much. And more importantly, thank you for letting dead dogs die and not even kind of, you know, bringing up what happened here with New England. So I thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Anytime, man.
All right.
But, you know, to refer back, man, this is not something we could talk about this week. It's got to be talked about for the rest of our lives.
Yes.
You know, this is about life and death. And, you know, I'm worried about my boys. I'm worried about their boys and my grandboys. I mean, it's just something that we got to fix. And, you know, the older I get, I thought I'd, you know, kind of get used to it. You can't get used to it, man.
Right.
Because you got more people to worry about. So, you know, I just hope we can progress from here and something to get done, man.
Well, I tell you what, man, if you are working on anything down in Atlanta or back here in Denver, make sure, you know, you include me and especially Cecil, man. We are definitely here for you and our listeners as well.
No doubt, man. Thanks, Cecil. Thanks, Nick, man. I appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, champ. Thank you very much.
All right, have a good night.
You as well. Hall of Fame man, dude. You kidding me?
Yeah.
I mean,
Doesn't get any better than that.
one of the best, most humble, most generous with his time. I mean, Champ Bailey's just a Hall of Fame human being. We all need to be like Champ, dude. I got chills. Look at that. Look at that. Chills.
Yeah, I see
from
that.
talking to him, man. He's amazing.